I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas,
where we talk about all of your favorite scary movies.
In the wise words of Bodies, today's episode is a podcast about hanging out with your smartest and funniest
librarian
friend. Today we are joined by a nautical lover, Jason, the librarian.
Hello. He's been here before. You saw him for Event Horizon. Go watch it.
We picked this movie specifically because we knew Jason liked it, and we thought he was smarter than us and could probably talk about it better.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen it in the title. We're covering The Lighthouse. And I have long said, I think Hannah has said, that we both feel like we like this movie, but it's one of those movies that goes over our head. And I still feel that way after watching, unfortunately.
I definitely understand, thematically a little bit more, but it helped by reading snippets of interviews for what they were going for.
This movie makes me feel dumb. I feel like most movies don't go over my head, so I get disappointed when they do.
Yeah.
But that's what we have Jason here for. So.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of pressure on Jason.
Yeah. So give us some background, Hannah.
Well, this is a 2019 film directed and produced by Robert Eggers from a screenplay he wrote with his brother Max. And the film stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, which... love. And they're the only two besides
a couple people playing
a mermaid.
Yeah.
What I thought was really fun about this is his second movie. He'd kind of written the script before The Witch got made, while he was kind of waiting for funding for The Witch. And after The Witch came out, both Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson separately approached him to be like, The Witch was super cool and I want to be in one of your movies. And Robert Pattinson had signed on first, and apparently his participation was kind of used as a selling point in pitches to Dafoe.
Really? Okay. Does Dafoe like Pattinson?
I don't think so.
Oh,
That's why I'm also confused by that, because based off the interviews, I don't know if Willem Dafoe likes him very much.
They're both kind of freaks.
Yeah, it might be based off the experience filming.
I feel like Dafoe's like a very professional freak. And Rob is just a freak.
Not. He's just
awesome.
A freak.
Chaos. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to read some fun facts about that kind of prove that.
He's no weirder than any other actor.
No,
he doesn't have actor
weird.
brain.
He just doesn't put on a front.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'd put Pattinson in a movie over Jared Leto any day. I don't think Jared Leto should be in any movies anymore, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
No need. We've moved past the need for Jared Leto.
100%.
He sucks.
Well, Robert Pattinson said to Robert Eggers before filming, I don't want to make a movie about a magical lighthouse. I want to make a movie about a fucking crazy person. And that they did.
Yeah.
Maybe I do understand this movie then.
Yeah.
I actually have some thoughts about that, so...
As we mentioned, there is one character outside of Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, which is a mermaid, so she's not in it too much. Anya Taylor-Joy, who was in The Witch, really wanted to work with him again and asked if she could play the mermaid, and he replied, she really should not be this particular mermaid. And then she tried to pitch that she be the seagull.
Oh, that's funny.
No. So, as I mentioned, I can't really tell if Willem Dafoe was, super into Robert Pattinson. In interviews, Willem Dafoe basically said that they didn't really get to know each other during the shoot because their characters didn't like each other, so they kind of, stayed away from each other and didn't, hang out.
Whoa. They didn't like each other? I don't know if this guy understands his own movie.
But they stayed away from each other and really didn't, chitty-chat until, press. And, I guess on set for filming the drinking scenes, Robert Pattinson did, get, near blackout for some of them. And at one point, there was a scene where Willem Dafoe is kind of, laying on Robert Pattinson. And Robert Pattinson was, trying to make himself gag, and Robert Eggers started telling him off because Willem was saying, if he throws up on me, I'm leaving the set. And then Robert Pattinson said he had no idea that this drama was unfolding.
I have to say,
drunkenly in character.
I do not know if I believe he was actually close to blackout. That sounds like something Robert Pattinson says.
Would say.
I'm so close to blackout when he is stone cold sober, and he could probably act that well enough. Because
Well,
we know he's really talented.
He also did legitimately puke for the movie. He made himself puke. And Willem Dafoe
Bruh.
was like, all right, man.
This is a guy that has made fun of method acting and actor brain, and I guess he has it a little bit still.
A little bit.
Actor brain's a special thing.
He just has a thing with bodily fluids, I feel like, because he also like peed on himself. So there's like all of that shit. In one of Willem Dafoe's interviews, he was like, yeah, I thought it was a little wacky, but like if he's really good, so if that's his process, then like whatever, bro. I'm paraphrasing, but that was really what I got from it. Another fun fact is that on day one, guess what scene they filmed day one?
The cooking, or you don't like my cooking scene.
They filmed Rob masturbating in the shed on day one.
Why don't you even have me guess then? That's hilarious. It really gets me into character.
Yes, and Egger said, it's the very first thing we shot, and Rob really, really went for it. And you know, it was inspiring. Direct quote. Another thing that I thought was really fun was they couldn't find like an area to film that they liked that had like the scenery and the lighthouse, so wherever they ended up filming, they built a 70-foot lighthouse.
Love that.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah. Okay, last fun fact. This movie was up for 1 Oscar. Do we have any guesses as to what category?
Best supporting actor.
By
Which
who?
one?
They're both lead. In my opinion.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
You got it right?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's a good guess because I also started looking up if Willem Dafoe was up for something.
I was going to say... Oh, wait, no. Best director.
Cinematography,
Okay.
which tracks, I think.
Sure. I think they get it looks good. I think they get the gimmick nomination because it's shot in 1.19, right? Mm-hmm. In black and white. Like, it was good, but
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
feel
taking away
like,
from them.
yeah, I feel like this movie is shot really beautifully, honestly.
It's
The
lit
lighting is
immaculately.
insane. The contrast in the lighting of all of the shots is really good.
It has to be when you're
shadow is insane.
I was just saying it has to be when you're in black and white.
Yeah, yeah. I think people use this as an example of like what's possible in black and white as far as like visual expression goes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think... I'm going to go on a tangent. And I was in high school. The first part of our visual medium class, we had to do black and white photography, which you learn about like shutter speed and negative space and things like that. And I remember thinking that is like so genius to have that be the first thing you learn because it's like critical. Like I feel like you can't make a movie unless you can understand black and white, right? Because we talk about negative space all the time, am I right, Hannah? Mm-hmm. And the principal was a jackass and was like, this isn't useful to anybody. Nobody uses black and white film anymore. And the teacher refused to stop doing it. So eventually the principal just had the maintenance people go in and remove the darkroom door.
Oh.
And so we were never allowed to do black and white photography because we didn't have a darkroom anymore. So fuck
That's
you.
just awful.
Yeah, this principal also had an affair with the vice principal, and they lied about it, and everyone found out during the summer and blew them up on social media, and then they called us into an auditorium and cried and was saying we cyberbullied them, and then they ended up divorcing their spouses and getting married. So
I think our district scandal is too inappropriate to share on this podcast because
that
it
one's
involves
crazy.
sex with a minor.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
I thought ours was pretty crazy.
There.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then they both got promoted. He became the vice superintendent. She became the principal.
Sex sells, baby.
Yeah. It was awesome. Good times.
Anyway, yeah, our school didn't have anything even remotely cool like that for classes. We had.
I was going to say
bare minimum.
remotely cool, like a crazy affair between...
No, like I said, we did have a scandal, but it wasn't cool.
So no cool black and white photography, though?
No cool black
We
and white
had shop
photography.
classes. We had like very good shop
But I
rooms.
feel like every school has that.
Maybe.
Probably.
I didn't go to any other schools.
My whole point was that black and white is critical. You're right. You can learn so much, and it proves like how important lighting and blocking is.
So before today, Jason, how many times have you seen this movie?
I saw it once before in theaters.
Oh, you've talked very highly of it. I assumed you'd seen it multiple times.
No, I saw it when it came out. I watched it. I didn't really get it. Because I was also, there's so much about it. Like, the aspect ratio, it's odd. And I was like, this must mean something. I don't know what it means, though. So I started reading a lot about it afterwards. It's like one of those, like, low-key things. When you watch it once, then you don't think about it for a long time, but then it starts, like, working its way back into your brain. It's like, oh, you know, that was actually fantastic.
It's a sign of a good movie. And you and I'd only seen it once. We watched it together here.
Yes.
So this is our second time watching it.
Yeah, we loved The Witch, and then we were like, this guy has another movie. Let's watch it.
And we still haven't seen The Northman because we suck.
Yeah.
Probably because it wasn't horror.
Yeah.
I heard great things, though, so I want to get around to it.
Yeah, Jason here is a fan.
But
so.
everyone knows we're hyped for Nosferatu, but we are sad that it's
yeah.
not Robert Pattinson playing Orlok. What's his name? Orlok?
Count Orlok.
Yeah, wow.
Isn't it Bill Skarsgård now? Or is that someone else?
I think so. I don't remember.
I think it's one of the Skarsgårds. I always get them confused.
There's like 9 of them.
Or at least he was part of the casting originally.
Yeah, this cast has changed a
Now
bunch. I
I'm
didn't think this movie was going to get made.
scared that I'm wrong.
Yeah, everyone was saying that. Then all of a sudden you see the news article. It's like, oh, principal photography is wrapped. It's like, oh, all right.
I kept thinking it wasn't going to happen.
You're like, what the fuck?
Did you find it yet, Hannah?
Bill Skarsgård is Count Orlok.
Cool, he's
Nicholas Hoult is in it too.
good.
That's
He's
who I
probably
also remembered was in
Is
it.
he going to be Van Helsing? No, wait, that's Dracula. Who's the...
Good try. He's another dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised.
His name's
Shocked.
Thomas. Aaron Taylor Johnson is a character. So is Willem Dafoe. Ralph Ineson, who was the dad in The Witch, is also in
Okay,
it.
all of the people you named could all play Nosferatu.
I know.
Like... Or sorry, not
Oscar.
Nosferatu. You know who I mean. Orlok.
Yeah.
So the original guy, this is a fun fact for you, he was cast for the role of Count Orlok because the director thought he was a naturally ugly man.
Hell yeah. Good for him.
I
And he was
mean,
actually like a big like sex maniac in the 20s. Like, had an affair with his wife's sister and his...
ugly and make moves.
Hell yeah.
Good for him. Sometimes you just gotta be unique looking.
Hey guys, what's your excuse? That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
you know.
shit. Okay, anyway. We went in knowing what to expect because we've seen this before. And I feel like we all liked it. And we'll be getting into why. But first...
I don't like it as much as The Witch, I'm sorry. I'll say that.
Yeah,
But it's
I
still
agree.
it's good. It has its merits.
I like it better than The Witch.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, first, 15-second summaries.
All right, let's do it.
Who wants to go first? I mean, I can if I need to.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm ready.
Okay,
Okay.
go.
An alcoholic goes insane on an island and then kills his boss and then dies.
All right, Jason, are you ready?
Yep. 2 people who are extremely annoying on their own are put together in a confined space with tragic consequences.
Yep.
I agree.
I'm making mine simple because I'm taking the simple reading on this movie.
Okay, mine is just dudes being dudes.
Dudes rock.
Just dudes being dudes. All right,
Dudes, yeah.
All right, you want me to give the full-on summary here?
give us the full summary.
As I always say, I tried to cut this down as much as possible. I just don't. They go to the island, then they die.
Cool.
That's it. All right, I'll give you the real one. Cool?
Yeah.
Are we all ready?
Go.
All right, in the 1890s, Ephraim, help me out. Ephraim Winslow begins a 4-week stint as a wickie, which is a lighthouse keeper, for those not in the know, on an isolated island off the coast of New England under the supervision of former sailor Thomas Wake. Wake is Willem Dafoe. Winslow is Robert Pattinson. Cool. Cleared that up. All right.
Yeah.
Wake immediately proves to be very demeaning when... oh, Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
I already messed up. Sorry. Wake immediately proves to be very demeaning, giving him a bunch of menial jobs that are tough and barring Winslow from entering the lantern room. Winslow observes that every night after ascending the lighthouse, Wake disrobes before the light. And oh my God, he disrobes before the light. I'm sorry.
Matt doesn't know how to read.
I cannot read today.
Do you need to start over?
No. During his stay on the island, Winslow begins to see sea monsters and logs floating in the sea. Winslow is bothered by a one-eyed seagull, but Wake warns him against killing it under the superstitious belief that gulls are reincarnated sailors. One evening, while dining, Wake reveals to Winslow that his previous wickie died after losing his sanity, while Winslow reveals that he is a former timberman from Maine. The day before the scheduled departure, Winslow discovers a dead gull inside the cistern. He is attacked by the one-eyed gull, and then he brutally slaughters it. The wind drastically changes direction, and a fierce storm hits the island. Winslow and Wake spend the night getting drunk, and the storm prevents the lighthouse tender from collecting them the next day. Winslow is not worried because he thinks the tender is only a day late, but Wake states that they have already been stranded for weeks. As the storm continues to rage, Winslow and Wake get drunk every night and alternate between moments of intimacy and hostility. One night, Winslow tries to unsuccessfully steal the lantern room keys from Wake and contemplates murdering him. Winslow later sees the one-eyed head of Wake's previous wiki in a lobster trap. While drunk, Winslow confesses to Wake that his real name is Thomas Howard, and he assumed the identity of Ephraim Winslow, his foreman in Canada, whom he deliberately allowed to drown. Winslow has a menacing vision of Wake accusing Winslow of spilling his beans and runs to the dory to try to leave the island, but Wake appears and destroys the boat with an axe. After chasing Winslow back to their lodging, Wake claims it was Winslow who chased him and destroyed the dory. With no alcohol left, Howard and Wake begin drinking a concoction of turpentine and honey. In the morning, Winslow finds Wake's logbook in which Wake has criticized him as a drunken and incompetent employee who he recommended be fired without pay. The two men argue, and Winslow attacks Wake while hallucinating the real Winslow and Wake as a Proteus-like figure. Winslow beats Wake into submission and takes him to the hole at the base of the lighthouse to bury him alive. Before losing consciousness, Wake describes a punishment that awaits those who look into the lantern. Winslow goes to get a cigarette, and Wake returns and strikes him with an axe. Winslow disarms Wake and murders him before ascending the lighthouse. In the lantern room, the lens opens to Winslow, who reaches in and violently screams before falling down the lighthouse steps. Sometime later, a barely alive Winslow lies nude on the rocks with the damaged eye as a flock of gulls peck at his exposed organs. Holy shit, that was hard.
I think we all learned something today, and that is that Matt doesn't actually know how to read.
No, it was I wrote it and I
Long
cut out a sentence that I didn't mean to, and I had to improvise.
Jason said long suspected theory.
Yeah, that was hard. I think it's Winslow Wake a bunch. My tongue hurts.
And the fun part of them both having the actual first name of
Thomas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the inspirations for Eggers. I read a story about two lighthouse keepers who were both named Tom.
Okay.
Damn.
Are you making that up?
No, I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. I could
never
not
know
cite it.
Source, I made it up.
This is
Yeah,
what's
you
revealed
never
to me in
know.
a dream.
You never know with Jason because he is
We said this in the last
pro
episode.
at fibbing.
Jason's
Oh.
a good liar.
I'm just gonna throw it out. No hides, no screams. It's not
No.
one of those.
Yeah, not that kind of movie.
It's make you feel uncomfortable because the narrator, not even the narrator, the focus. What am I thinking of? Perspective. That's the word. There we go. Perspective is unreliable completely the whole time. And it just makes you feel like confused.
Yeah, I feel like both of our main characters are extremely unreliable. Like, I don't really buy into what either of them is selling.
Ooh.
But in particular,
In different
Robert
ways.
Pattinson. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Willem Dafoe is aware of what he's doing, and Robert Pattinson isn't.
Do
I
tell.
agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I
completely
do
agree.
agree. I feel like he is deliberately kind of fucking with him.
Yeah.
I kept sitting there trying to be like, do I need to figure this movie out? And then I was like, I'm committing the sin that I always bitch at everyone, which is trying to solve the movie. Like, there's no need to solve the movie. Like, you can just take it in as is. But
The
I do
vibes
want to
are-
know. It's really hard when it feels like a mystery is set up, but there just is no answer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding like a moron, I will say the vibes are immaculate.
Yeah, in like a bad way, right? Immaculate derogatory.
No, I mean, like, everything about this movie has, like, this very specific aesthetic.
Yes, agreed. I'm just saying it's very eerie and uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, it is
Yes.
eerie and uncomfortable. This movie is super uncomfy. I mean, you have Robert Pattinson belligerently drunk, stumbling, both of them jacking it, literal...
One jacking it to the light.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
That's the sentence I left out, so I get confused.
Allegedly.
Oh, that was an important sentence, Matt. I don't know how you could leave that detail out.
It happens.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It,
I mean,
again,
we do
the
see
camera is
him.
completely unreliable.
Yeah.
Anything that Robert Pattinson said is completely unreliable. Anything Willem Dafoe said is maybe unreliable. But in my opinion, Rob is lost his whole mind, and I trust Willem Dafoe more.
Well, I think it's interesting because I feel like we could debate as to how much of the movie Robert Pattinson has lost it. Has he lost it from minute one, or does he lose it, like, midway through or part of the way through? Because I feel like in the beginning, he's very, like, he's doing all his jobs, or at least that's what we see.
Exactly.
And he is choosing not to drink. And then right before they're about to leave, shit hits the fan.
I think I have a loose timeline of what I think might have happened worked out in my head.
Hit us with it.
This is like the Willem Dafoe evil mastermind theory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we know he says his last lighthouse guy died after going insane. So he's talking about merfolk and stuff, but this is after Robert Pattinson finds the mermaid scrimshaw in his bedroll.
Yeah.
Which is a hole cut and it's there, and it's like the first time I saw this, it's like, oh, I think this his old guy carved this in his obsession and hid it in his mattress. But now I think, because Willem Dafoe, I think he is genuinely superstitious and he believes a lot of what he says about nautical superstitions. And he's like, can't do this, bad luck to do that. So I think he put that there because he thought it would curse him. But this only works if Robert Pattinson had the kind of mind that was receptive to that. So if he just finds it and it's like, oh, it's just a mermaid. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But he sees, and it's like, oh, it's a naked mermaid. And that starts eating away in his brain. So he's on firm footing. He's like, all right, I'm putting this old life behind me. I'm starting over, stole this guy's identity. And now he has this other thing. He's like, all right, it gets a little shaky. But then Willem Dafoe starts telling the stories. It's like, oh, yeah, this happened. And it's like, oh, he's talking about this. And he's got to be careful about this stuff. And slowly putting the ideas into his head. And it's like, there's some serious stuff that might be going wrong. And Robert Pattinson's like, oh, this is happening to me. And then it's just, throughout the course of the movie, it's just Willem Dafoe getting him to doubt himself. Because I think, see, the fun thing about Willem Dafoe's character is, I like to think that he never actually was a sailor. Maybe he was. For a little bit, but I think all of his stories completely made up.
I kind of agree with that.
I think he might have stolen them from people who had worked at the lighthouse before, but he's very protective of the light. Mm-hmm. I think he might have some weird, psychosexual thing with the light. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's just the only thing he's ever been good at, and he doesn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And so what he does is he deliberately tries to drive away anyone else that encroaches on the lighthouse.
So you think he's in control and he did basically gaslight?
I think the logbook, I think everything written there was true, but that was his plan B. If Robert Pattinson's like, oh, weird scrimshaw, whatever, throws it in the garbage.
Okay.
So then it's like, oh, even if it happens, 4 weeks together, gets to shore, and it's like, oh, by the way, you're fired, you're not getting paid, goodbye.
Okay. I see that.
What was your theory?
Mine, I'm going to run 2 here, and I'm going to go quick. I needed to look at this and take the simplest approach, which is that Rob is just crazy. And I think it's from the whole time. I think that there's 2 different readings. It's that everything is real and is happening, and it's that after he let that dude drown, he was probably already just a shitty dude that couldn't hold down jobs because he is lazy and not good at them. Mm-hmm. Is how I kind of took it. I don't think he was doing any of the shit he said he was doing because the logbook says it. But I think he basically, he was just fucking off, hanging out there, drinking, and has never really come to terms with the fact that he let that dude die. And that's really in his head, and basically just loses his mind a little bit. And then alcohol makes the psychosis worse. And he does probably end up, I think everything happens as it happens, right? And it's just eventually he's just stuck on the island because he is starving and is getting eaten by birds. Mm-hmm. Or we can read this as that none of it is real, and this is his own mind prison that he's put himself in because of the guilt of killing his foreman, right? And it's almost like Shutter Island. And the end is when he finally accepts the truth. He goes to see the light, right? He does accept the truth, and he explains how this happens. Mm-hmm. And that's when he is unable to still come to terms with the fact of what he did, which is seeing that light. So he screams and backs away and falls down, and then is just basically stuck inside his little mind prison, as I put it. That's a fun way to look at it.
I definitely agree. I definitely do think that he was present for the death of his foreman, if not contributed towards it, it implies. And I definitely do think, to agree with your theory about the light, the light is definitely representative of knowledge, whether that's the knowledge of what he did or some other sort of knowledge. I definitely do think that is what that is,
or acceptance
symbolizing.
Of what he did. And he refuses to accept.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, that's just me trying to make something
And I
out
think
of
if you
nothing.
look at with the mythology of it, the light being
Fire.
knowledge and intelligence
Oh, that's
makes sense.
We'll talk about that then. Done with the Prometheus thing?
Well, yeah, so Eggers has said that there is this, like, Greek mythology element of Proteus and Prometheus. So Prometheus, I had heard of. Prometheus
Good
is...
movie. Ridley Scott. A lot of fun.
Prometheus is the titan that was known for stealing fire from the gods to give to humans.
Mhm.
So they had fire. So it's like kind of seen in mythology as humans' like first source of like knowledge and intelligence. And as punishment, he was chained to a rock where an eagle would arrive every day and peck out his organs as
sounds
his
familiar.
punishment from Zeus, which is literally how this ends after Robert Pattinson sees the light. So I think you can also, again, see that as like the exposure to light, fire, or exposure to some sort of like knowledge beyond him that he either doesn't want to have, like in your example of like repressing his past, or some other sort of knowledge. I don't really know.
This is where we start getting lost.
Yeah,
That's the
and
issue.
then
It's like
the literal last scene is him getting his organs pecked out. So, I mean, that's the same thing.
So I realize I agree with what everyone said, and I feel like what Eggers did here is he probably it almost feels
it's
like he had
super up
all-
for
No, but,
interpretation.
yeah, I'm saying, but it seems like he had all of these ideas, and you would have 9 out of 10 things would lead to your idea and make sense, and then one of them contradicts. For every idea I could come with, there's one contradiction somewhere, and it's kind of genius on his part, right? To really just keep you never really understanding.
I
is the way
wasn't
would
done
see it.
talking
Sorry,
about the
go ahead.
mythology that
But
you told me to explain.
You made me think about it, so I'm sorry.
Proteus was a sea god who I wasn't familiar with, but he was apparently a knowledge keeper who could change shape and foretell the future. So it is really funny that a lot of the time when Robert Pattinson sees some sort of like tentacle figure, it's when he's in a room or looking at Willem Dafoe. So like a sea god would probably have that, and obviously this is the person who is his boss and has the knowledge of like the lighthouse and the island and all of these like sea tales and the knowledge of what happens if you kill a seabird and all that jazz. So him kind of being that role does make sense.
Yeah.
So that's a mythology piece, at least. I definitely see that.
Yeah, I see it. I still think it links back to there's still like it's not a full puzzle, which is like there's just like a lot of bits of different ideas in here, and I think that's kind of cool. But I agree.
I know something else that's like a piece of the puzzle, as you say, is that Eggers said the film's subtext was influenced by Sigmund Freud, and that he hoped it's a movie where both Jung and Freud would be furiously eating their popcorn.
Okay, and so which do we know which part? Is it like Oedipus stuff?
Well, we don't know what specifically he's referring to. I mean, at least I didn't find or really look for any interviews where he's talking about it specifically, but I figured we could kind of talk about that in
Sure.
the subtext of the
Could
movie.
we go over the levels of consciousness that Freud talked about? Because I think that might be helpful to understand in the context of the movie.
Yes. So Freud had his theory of the id, ego, and superego. The id is the primitive and instinctual part of the mind.
Lizard brain.
Yes, so that's where we have like our sexual and aggressive drive. So like your need to bang or like hit someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And like your hidden repressed things, that's your id. The superego is more your moral conscious, and the ego is the realistic part that kind of mediates between the desires of the id and superego.
Okay.
And I would kind of argue in this movie I don't really see a superego. I don't really see a moral conscience anywhere.
The viewer.
Yeah, I guess we are.
Yeah. I found it.
Robert Pattinson, at least, he's tormented by what happened to his foreman. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
I guess he could be kind of representative.
It's self-inflicted torment. Sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
Well, he knows what he did was wrong, just like in the beginning, if you can see his, like, choosing not to drink is him, like, knowing that his drinking can be bad. So he's, like, kind of combining the id, which is his urge to drink or bang or whatever, with his super ego, which is like, don't drink, don't do bad things, don't murder.
But then the log makes it sound like he was drinking the whole time. That's why I feel like I don't believe that he wasn't drinking
Yeah.
at the beginning.
I mean, if you look at the latter half of the movie, Robert Pattinson is eating it up in there with all of his behavior is very channeled by your id.
Is it possible to have something like the ego being the regulatory thing and alcohol suppressing the ego? So it's like, is it possible to have like a combination of your all id and super ego? I don't know that much about Freud. Is that a possibility? Could we describe
Hannah's
Robert
a
Pattinson?
psychology major
I'm
here.
gonna not gonna
sucks,
lie, I don't really buy into Freud. I know
Who
he's like the
does?
basis of the field, so like a lot of theories like start with
I
Freud.
thought everyone was like Freud's hack, basically.
Most people, yeah. And so like I've kind of blacked this shit out since first semester, freshman year.
Damn.
So
She's calling you out, Jason.
no, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't have an
messing around.
answer for him right
It
now.
seems like Robert Pattinson's character particularly, is driven by his animal instincts. He knows that a lot of what he's doing is bad, but he has nothing telling him to not do it.
Well, then that would be that his ego is not functioning correct, and his like, yeah.
What if he actually murdered the foreman and he's not accepted the fact that he's murdered the foreman, so he says it was an accident and I didn't help him?
Well, then he's repressing
Yes.
Or-
and then we see
it. Or suppressing it.
He's
Depends on if it's deliberate
suppressing-
or not.
and that's the knowledge he's ignoring that he eventually gets by seeing the light, right? And that's how when he kills the bird out of this insane rage, like he's showing signs of the fact that he's like capable. That's his id, right? Coming out to hit things.
Well, that would be Freud's defense mechanisms. Like, that's where the terms repression and
Huh.
suppression come from.
I think we're putting the pieces together here.
Suppression, projection, all of those are Freud's defense mechanisms.
I was wondering how that would affect his response to what happened to his foreman. Like, I'm wondering... Myself never having killed somebody. I'm wondering if...
He's lying.
like, would standing by and watching somebody die when you knew you could save them feel worse to you than actively killing them?
I
Depends
guess
on-
it depends on how well your super ego is functioning.
That's exactly where I was going to go. We said that Rob's character is a completely id-driven character. So, like, who knows? Like, that's why I was thinking if he's really id-driven, maybe he did just kill him.
But yeah, we don't know. Like, yeah, I guess if you're the type of person to like deliberately murder someone, I don't know if your moral conscience is like totally working very well. But if you're the type of person to see someone get murdered and not necessarily intervene, I think there's a lot of reasons why we could say someone would or would not intervene. And so then I could see that your moral conscience is like causing you more pain and suffering from that. Like, I know I would regret not helping someone and letting someone die.
Right.
And I think that would eat with me, but I'm not the type of, like, there's no reality in which I would kill someone, so I can't even, like, put that in a place where I could really compare them, right? Like, does that make sense, what I'm trying to say, or am I just rambling?
No, I think it makes sense. I'm just realizing that this episode sounds completely like nonsense, and I kind of love it.
I'm just wondering how, if he opens the light and the revelation is, I killed that guy, how that would affect him in a way that he wasn't being affected in the movie.
He
Well, I
was
think-
hiding it, right? He was repressing.
So, I guess our question would be, like, does he know on some level that he did it? So if no, it is totally black the fuck out like Leo in Shutter Island, then that would be repression.
And alcohol's helping him.
But if he's choosing in some way to black it out, like using alcohol to get rid of the memory, that is suppression.
Yeah.
So I
don't
guess
know.
that's our question there too.
This is all on the
'Cause,
basis of my theory that I threw it that he actually murdered him, just because I thought that was fun.
Like if you compare
Yeah,
it
we're
to
going down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
I
I
like
mean, if
it.
you compare it to Shutter Island, right, like, at the end, he's been repressing it the whole time. He does not know that he killed his wife.
Spoilers. That's all right. Spoilers for Shutter Island.
For
Movie
a
came out,
very
like, 15
old
years
movie.
ago.
I know. I'm just fucking.
Yeah, so in that and then he does feel guilt, and then that leads him to essentially choose a lobotomy versus live with it. So in this regard, like,
He then suppresses. At the end of the movie, right?
he's not even choosing to black it out. He's just, like,
Oh,
I think you
true.
can
You're
buy
right.
in that
Yes.
he totally knows. Like, it's
You're
still
right.
totally there. So I feel like if you think about that it would make sense if Robert Pattinson had repressed it, learns that he did this, and it's just like, I sacrifice myself to the universe.
It is
Evie.
interesting.
Punish me.
It's
I don't know.
It could be either, but either way, he acknowledges that he saw the person died and it helped him. Is he choosing that and lying to himself, or does he actually not remember, or he didn't murder him at all and I just made that up? So
I kind of like the theory that he murdered him.
I do too. That's
I think
why I'm
it's a
rolling
fun
with
theory.
it.
Doesn't mean it's right, but death of the author, baby.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
I'm gonna keep believing they didn't murder him.
All right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying. We're not here to piece the puzzle together. This is not what we usually do, but I thought this would be the movie for it.
They're just spitballing.
Very much is.
So it feels like we hit some themes.
If we also are going to think about Freud, we'd also be remiss to not mention the Oedipal complex.
Edible.
Is it Oedipus? Or is that how you say
Oedipal.
it? Oh, really?
Oedipal, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Oedipus, Oedipal complex.
I heard edible, like
I might have said edible. I might have said it like that, but it's Oedipal.
I gotcha.
OEDIPAL complex. So it's the psychoanalytic theory from Freud. It's one of his most famous. It's basically where you want to bang the parent of the opposite sex, and you see a rivalry with your parent of the same sex. So that would be like little boys being like, I want to do this with mommy, daddy's not allowed to come.
But it's all the idea that it's because you want to bang your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freud loves sex.
Yeah. Freud's a freak.
Freud is a freak. So in this regard, if you think of Willem Dafoe as like the stand-in for his father, then it's like that sense of rivalry.
And Lighthouse is his mom.
Yeah,
that he
pretty
wants to
much. Bang. There's definitely a mutual wanting to bang the Lighthouse.
I threw this out beforehand, and I kind of he sees Dafoe as both parents, in my opinion, because it goes back and forth between intimate and like rival with him and like hostility. So I almost was seeing it as like he has Dafoe stand in for both mom and father, which makes sense because Dafoe is the authority figure, which is like, if we're going standard gender roles, whatever bullshit, then the authority figure is the father, right? But he also cooks and takes care of things, which is like the standard gender role for the mother, right? So like he could see him as both, which is why he is both hostility and intimacy towards Dafoe. You seeing it?
Yeah, I get what you're putting out.
Yeah. I don't like to push the standard gender norms, but that's like it's
I will
an easy way to read
one
it.
of my favorite scenes was Willem Dafoe getting mad that Robert Pattinson said he didn't like his cooking.
I'm sure
such a beautiful scene.
He's like, you didn't like my lobster?
I've seen Hannah's mom do that scene better in real life. No, I'm kidding. I like everything she makes.
That Hark monologue is just beautiful. I want to use that as like the copy paste. You know, you have like I'll have you know, I graduated first in my class in the Navy SEALs.
I have over 400 confirmed kills.
I want to, instead of doing that, I want to use the Hark monologue.
I like that. Start posting that. Jason, you'd be a really good poster if you were on social media. Can you imagine this guy on Twitter?
It'd be
He'd be up there with like Drill. If you know who Drill is. I don't know if you know.
Everyone knows who Drill is.
Hannah apparently doesn't.
What?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's like the greatest poster of all time on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Drill. @Drill. DRIL.
Win.
Okay.
Yeah, Wint. Yeah, Jason knows. That's crazy.
Well, the other thing that Eggers mentioned was Carl Jung. Have you even heard of
No,
who
I
that
have
is?
no idea who Carl Jung is.
I read a little bit of Carl Jung.
Yeah,
I read Carl Jung complaining about Freud.
Yeah, so Jung was one of Freud's students who then like has complaints and then kind of like takes things and kind of renames them from Freud and like has some new things. But the big thing I think that's prevalent in this film is the concept of the shadow. And before you ask me follow-up questions, don't remember Jung because that's not important to my current work. That's entirely blacked out.
Neither is Freud.
Yeah.
But everyone knows Freud.
Yeah.
So.
Cigars.
Yeah. Jung has the concept of the shadow. And he basically describes aspects of personality that we choose to reject and repress. So for one reason or another, we all have parts of ourselves that we don't like or we feel like society doesn't like, so we push those parts down into our unconscious psyche. And so that is the shadow. Things like aggressive impulses, taboo mental images, shameful experiences, unacceptable sexual desires, yada yada. So it's things we contain, but we struggle to admit to ourselves that we contain. So pretty similar to the id. Yeah. So I think that is also pretty prevalent, like we discussed, for the same reasons with Robert Pattinson and like these things that he struggles to admit that he has a problem with, like possibly the alcohol and murder.
I thought you were going to say masturbation.
Yeah, the masturbation is...
I was like, that's not really an issue. Unless, I mean, the way it was written in the logbook, it sounds like he was
jerking
spending
all the time.
extended time away from the post.
Well, I'm thinking, do we ever see him doing work on his own? We see him, like, going from place to place, like, pushing the wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow gets wet and he leaves it there. And it's like, didn't... I mean, what
we
do
see
we
him
actually
scrubbing
see
stuff. We see him painting and then he falls. See him scooping the coal.
Dumping the poop.
Yeah,
in his
chamber
face.
pots. Yeah.
Well, one quote that I really liked from Willem Dafoe, which kind of supports this theory, is that he says the two keepers are put in this situation that's like they're in purgatory, and then the little personality, the little sense of self that they've created for themselves starts to get stripped away. You see what their real nature is, and that points them into a kind of depression. Nope, desperation. Sorry. Exactly like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. That was
the real him is underneath. Like the fakeness is getting stripped away until we have alcoholic, wet, jerkin Robert Pattinson murdering.
That's how we like him.
Yeah, I think that works very well with a small cast. Right? Because like he's basically alone the entire time, which is like it's that aspect, and also like this thing. What I love most about this movie is just two people who just grit on each other. And that's fine for short bursts if there are other people around, but two people alone together on an island with these little personality things that bother one another. And also there's no like outside society. Like Robert Pattinson is like put on this like disguise for himself. It's like I'm a respectable man now. I'm starting over. I'm on the straight and narrow. With no one around to enforce those values on him, it just falls away. And it's like,
He also, the costume designers did great, or the makeup, whoever, because he looked like a completely different person by the end of the movie. Yeah. Which I think which is exactly what you're saying, right? Things get like stripped away, which is why I kind of do believe maybe he was crazy the whole time and he was seeing himself as this respectful person, and that like by the end, the real Pattinson or real Winslow, I guess Howard was his real name, shows himself.
Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking when Jason was talking was not about this movie, but just like thinking about going on a road trip when you go on a trip with just one other person.
Yeah.
It's just the two of you, and you're like, holy fuck, you're annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I love you, but shut the fuck up.
So your personal purgatory is going on a road trip with one other person. Or hell. This might just be hell they're in.
No, I don't think that's my personal purgatory, because even those specific people that I can think of offhand that I'm like, have most wanted to punch, I've gone on other trips with them since then, or planned other trips, so I'm choosing it, whatever it is. Purgatory for me is watching someone who's really bad at pool trying to get the last.
Hey, that was my...
No, that was mine. That was my joke.
Matt and I wrote a whole bit about this.
Yeah, but it was my joke. I'm the one who made the joke based off Jason trying to get the
Two
last
balls
ball
in,
in,
and
taking 10 plus minutes.
It's a good time. So is this movie really just like a Good Place sequel?
Honestly, I think it came out first. No.
Fuck.
What came out first? What finished first?
Good Place finished after this, I think.
Well, shit.
Yeah,
It's in the Good Place universe. It's just another one of the places. You seeing it? Or I guess it's the bad place. But
I mean, the purgatory part does make sense because they're, just kind of left in this situation where they're miserable. There's no known escape. Just doing the same bullshit every fucking day to try and survive.
They got no one comes to get them. All right.
So we did a lot of Leonella stuff.
I guess that was themes, right? Do we call that themes?
Themes, purpose, whatever.
Let's talk about what we liked, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, all that had to happen.
We needed to get that out of our systems.
I hope it wasn't too nonsense.
I mean, this movie looks great. It's lit super well. We already said that. The acting is great.
I was going to say, let's talk about the performances, which you were starting to touch on.
Yeah, the thing I love most about this movie, I find I'm very critical of a lot of supernatural horror if I don't think the world has been built in just the right way and the right rules have been laid out at the very beginning to make what follows believable. It bothers me the entire time. So what I love most about this is that you don't have to read it in any supernatural way at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what can happen when two people are left alone together.
Agreed. I think there are 10 different ways to read it, and that is one that's the easiest way, and that's what I wanted to, not even the easiest, it's like makes the most sense, and that's the way I wanted to read it initially.
And I think the fact that you have two wickedly talented Delamanzines.
Is that a pun?
I also think
You've seen that video, right?
That's the scariest way to read it too. Is that it's just two dudes that go nuts on an island.
Yeah.
Due
That's what I
to
was saying.
alcohol
This is just bros being bros.
Yeah. And drinking boat fuel.
Yeah, what do you think would happen if you put Jason and Jason in a room and gave them
With
boat
boat
fuel
fuel.
for weeks on end?
Would they be all right?
I don't know. I think there'd be some sort of fighting eventually if you give Jason and Jason boat fuel. I've seen both of them near blackout or out.
Yeah, I'm sure drinking boat fuel would definitely not be great.
Which is what they're doing at the end of this. So,
yeah, I think that's one of the scariest ways, though. Yeah, you're right. The performances, they're both wickedly talented, as you were saying.
I was just quoting John Travolta for those that...
Idina Menzel.
Adela
Manzine.
I think he says it worse than that. He does. It's Adela and then last name.
Dazeem.
He says word... I think he says Dazeem instead of
All right.
Dazeem. Anyway. Yeah. Great moments in history.
My brain hurt from talking about everything else, and now I can't go on. What else do you like about it, Jason?
I love all the nautical aspects. That was when I first found out about this. I remember I have a friend, haven't seen him in a long time, but he works at like a maritime museum.
Ooh.
And he shared the trailer on Facebook, and I was watching and I was like, oh, this is great. And there's sea shanties, and there's a lighthouse, and there's nautical culture and things. And the way it was set up, because I just rewatched the trailer about half an hour ago. Because the trailer is there, and you got the mermaid, you got all these tentacles and stuff, and you got Robert Pattinson going down a dark tunnel. And it's set up like it's going to be some kind of Lovecraftian monster, and that's just not.
Mm-hmm.
Just two dudes.
Yeah.
Two dudes in their...
Maybe him hallucinating some tentacles.
Yeah.
Two dudes in their lighthouse that, as Robert Pattinson says, was described explicitly in the script like an erect penis.
All lighthouses look like erect penises.
I know, that was also my comment. I was like, bro. Anyway.
It is a phallic shape. Come on, man.
Well, I guess blame Robert Eggers for that, not Robert Pattinson, because he wrote it in the script. That
Every
this
can
looked
of
like a
beer
dick.
is also an erect penis, clearly.
Ooh. What does this say
What
about
does this say about
beer
society?
likers?
We live in a society. All right. Moving on.
Is there anything we didn't like?
Yeah. There are things I don't like, but I don't know. I found it not nearly as engaging this time. I definitely felt myself, and maybe I just had a very hard week, but I felt myself getting very sleepy during this movie, during some scenes. And then all of a sudden, they would burst out with these really fun, grating scenes between the two of them, like the probably going to be all of our favorite scenes, which is Defoe's rant about cooking. But there are just some pieces in between where I just feel like it's a slog, and my eyelids were getting heavy. But that's not to say it's not like technically pretty perfect, and like the story is fun and the performances are good. I just don't think it like grabs me the way like The Witch does.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think, like we said, technically everything's really good, and even, like, the script is very, like, period. The dialogue is very specific for, like, when and where it's set. So I think even that is pretty perfect. So it's, like, hard to complain about, but I do agree that I was kind of dozing a little. But I really don't want to put that as any fault of the movies. I want to say that that's me being tired because you turn the light off.
It could be a skill issue. As I've said before.
I honestly think it might be a skill issue. I mean, it's basically what happened to me during Inland Empire, except for that I let the sleep take me.
Yeah, I guess that's my only complaint, is I just don't find it nearly as, like, gripping, and it could definitely be scarier.
Well, and I feel like part of that could be because we don't actually have as clear of a sense of, like, the reality or what's happening or how to interpret it. So, like, it's harder for us to stay as engaged versus, like, The Witch. We very much were like, look at this interpretation.
Yeah.
See, I remember the first time I watched it, up until the scene where Robert Pattinson is standing, he's holding the wet logbook and reading from it. I just thought it's like, oh, here's just normal guy, got some skeleton in his closet, getting stuck on an island with this crazy ex-sailor just acting bizarrely the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets to the logbook and it's like, wait, I think everything in here is technically true.
Mm-hmm.
So then I say, do you think I'm drunk? It's like, you're drunk every day too. And it's like, well, we never actually see Willem Dafoe get that drunk. We see him drink during meals. We see him, but he's always like
he's always walking
cognizant.
fine for the most part, and then Robert Pattinson is belligerently stumble drunk. Like the kind of drunk I don't think I've ever been in my life. And Robert Pattinson is
I don't know about that.
Excuse me, name a time. Right now. Here and now.
When you fell down in the street and bruised your face up.
I was sober for that.
Or not bruised, you scraped your face.
I was sober for that.
Why did you did that at walking? When you were walking back
that's
from
happened
Jeans?
to me twice.
You were walking back from Jeans
Oh,
after
I was
having
not
the 5-shot
belligerently
LIT.
drunk. I was buzzed.
You still fell down?
I was playing on my phone and I walked through a construction site. It was a user
it
error.
It was like an Animaniacs episode with the little girl.
Yeah, you can't see, you can't name a time of when I've been that bad.
But I think it can be confusing when you're going through, and especially a first time for a casual watcher, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to believe? What's actually happening here? But I think in retrospect that's nice. And hold up.
I will say I do think it's not his movies that I've seen so far, this and The Witch, aren't the most accessible films for the average person. I think part of that is the way they're shot and the dialogue. I just don't think this is the kind of movie that the average person understands and enjoys. I don't think that is like a real problem, but just a note.
We must be so smart.
I see. I think we talked about this a little during the Event Horizon episode too, and it's like, well, there didn't seem to be any stakes, nothing was happened, which is what you were saying. It's like I'm fine with a really slow burn, like slow burn. If I could just like sit there and experience a movie, I don't need stuff to happen, which is what I was thinking when we were watching this. And it's like, wow, so much more happened than I remembered from the first time I watched it.
It's like so much,
exciting, but
so little.
Yeah.
Because like in the grand scheme of things, all that's happening is two men trapped on an island drinking and not enjoying each other's food, apparently. But like...
Now, he said he liked it at the end.
Yeah, he did.
He said that out of a place of anger.
Yeah, definitely. But then if you think about all of the little things that happen, there is a lot more, like, in small details that happen.
Yeah, I'm fine with slow burns, too. I still enjoy it. It just, there were, I think, parts that, at least I felt, I don't know, I just, like, lost interest for a little bit. So, I mean, Skinamarink was a slow burn.
Yeah,
I love Skinamarink.
Slowest burn.
So...
Any hot takes about this movie that those in
your
this room
hot take
might have?
I know Jason's hot take. Yeah, your hot take is that it's his best.
Oh yeah, I do think this is Eggers' best. It's my favorite movie, which is a way of saying that I think it's his best. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a hot take.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen The Northman, but I've heard a lot of people like The Witch, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how great The Northman is.
Yeah,
I don't hear as much about
my
The Lighthouse.
scale is this, The Northman, and The Witch. The Witch not at the
is a
very
hot
bottom, but they're still like at the top. They're very close to each other.
At the top, I gotcha.
I'm not putting The Witch way down. It's just my least favorite of what he's done.
I do think that's a pretty hot take, but now I'm looking up Rotten Tomatoes to see, at least critically, if it's a hot take. For the average person, I can almost promise that's a hot take.
It's certified fresh. It says right on the DVD case.
Critically, they both got the same score on Rotten Tomatoes, which like makes sense. But
I was gonna say a hot take about Rob and Willem Dafoe. I don't know if it's a hot take. Basically, that they're both really fucking good and probably two of the finest actors we've had in our lifetime. I really do think Robert Pattinson is just like an incredible actor, and I think Willem Dafoe is as well. And it's like cool to see two guys at the top of their game. One, I think. I don't want to say that Rob's early in his career, but I guess he is. He's early in his career, right?
Yeah,
and
what is he, like 35 or something?
Yeah, probably in that range. And Willem Dafoe getting much older and near the end, and it's like very clear just that these are two powerhouses. So it's awesome. Really cool. Is that a hot take? I don't know. Rob's gonna go down as like one of the best of our generation. That's my hot take.
I agree with that. But
Okay.
also, I just kind of love him, so I'm biased, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was sure what was going to happen to him after Twilight. But he's gone.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, now
gone.
he's the best Batman ever beyond
skyrocketed
live
after
action.
that.
So,
That might be a hot take.
that's not a hot take.
No, I
Who's
don't.
a better-
I don't think it is,
who's
but
a
other
better-
people would say it is.
Who's
what
a
I'm
better
saying.
live action? Obviously, Kevin Conroy is the best Batman. Everyone knows that. Who is the best live action?
Okay, I don't really.
Ignoring Christian Bale.
He's not a good Batman.
He's
The
a
movie's
horrible
fine, but
Batman.
he's
I
not-
literally hate him.
He is.
As Batman.
Oh, hot take. Christian Bale has one good performance in his career, and it's American Psycho.
No, that's a hot take. That's a hot take.
What else
That's
has he been
insane.
good in?
Well, I don't love
Yeah,
Christian
exactly.
Bale movies,
What else
but
has he
I
been
think
good in?
that's
He's
crazy.
fine. I don't think he's that good. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just being
Have
belligerent.
you
I
not
don't know.
seen Vice and American Hustle and
None of them are like nearly as good as American's
The
performance in American
Machinist,
Psycho.
which I actually haven't seen, but like
Was he good in The Machinist, or did he just like
Lose a lot of
get,
weight?
yeah,
I
lose
don't
a lot of
know.
weight?
The Prestige.
The Prestige.
You know what? He is good in The Prestige.
The
but he's not as-
Fighter.
He's not nearly as good in The Prestige as he is.
The Big
in,
Short.
Hold up, he's not that good in that.
I
He's
don't
fine.
know. I'm just
He's
naming
serviceable.
good movies. I think
He's serviceable in all these movies. Yeah, I like The Prestige, but like Hugh Jackman carries that. Christian Bale's good in those.
I've heard
You're
he's
fine.
really good in The Fighter.
No one
Isn't
talks
he?
about The Fighter, do they? I'm being so mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I do
you're
like
being
Christian Bale.
such
No,
a
but he is
dickwad.
not a
He's
very good
been
Batman.
up for. He won Best Supporting Actor, the Oscars for The Fighter. So that's funny
Whoa,
that's the
okay.
one you're giving me shit for.
All right.
Actually,
Never
all
seen
of
it.
the movies where you're like he's serviceable in that are the ones he's been up for an Oscar.
It's just the name. No, I don't know. I'm just talking shit. My point is, he's not a very good Batman, in my opinion. The movies
Okay,
are good.
that's-
Well, The
yeah.
Dark Knight Rises sucks, but the other two are good.
Okay. We're
But
gonna
Rob is better.
People are gonna unfollow us for this.
No, this is why they come. They
Cut
come
it
for the
out.
fun. They come for the fun takes. The Dark Knight is very good.
Okay,
it's the
well,
second best
I'm gonna
live action
just-
Batman movie behind the Batman.
Shut your mouth. What I will say is that we have had a photo of Robert Pattinson on our wall since 2020.
Shh, don't tell them that. They don't need to know. He
It
is
was
right over there. I'm looking at him in the eye. Jason, do you see him?
I love
see
when
him.
people come over and they're like, "Wait, I never noticed this before. How long has this been here?" And I'm like, like 4
He's hanging above the
years."
litter box. He's chilling. Rob, please come on the pod.
We love you. But we did find a terrible Twitter take.
Oh, is it mine?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. It was on Reddit. Still a terrible
Oh.
Twitter take. We count it. It's
It's a terrible take.
a terrible take. It's more fun to say. Alliteration rocks.
Fuck, where did mine go?
All right.
Shit, I lost mine, sorry.
I took a photo of mine. 'Cause I'm
Okay.
smart. Okay.
Yeah.
This whole post is maybe parts of it have truth, but there's one line that's bad. But basically, they wrote, "The Lighthouse was awful. Another movie praised on this sub that sucked. Was a fan of The Witch, but this was a bad version of that. Okay, so he's going crazy. The Witch told that story in a far more interesting way. The banter back and forth between the Thomases was pointless, keeping the story at a standstill. Great acting, but when the story doesn't move it is a scene chewing. What? They can't write. This movie could have been told in 20 minutes. Eggers has lost me as a fan." Okay. To say that the banter back and forth between the Thomases was pointless is insane. Like, that's like some of the best moments in the movie. Right? To say nothing is happening, like so much is happening during
I mean,
those
so
moments.
much of the movie is about their, like, interpersonal relationship and how much they hate each other in the moment.
Oh, I want to call it the user. Oh, they deleted. They don't have Reddit anymore. I can't call them out.
Oh, shit.
U/deleted. Good.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
glad
yeah,
you
let's
deleted
not
it
do
for that
that.
bad take.
Whoa. Well, a tweet that I found that I wanted to share, which is not a hot take, is Amazon thinks I'm Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, and their ads from Amazon was a brown cast iron octopus arm for a doorknob, a giant trunk chest for, like, clothes, a 2.5 gallon glass bottle, and then roll up travel money. But I love the caption of Amazon thinks I'm Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. The octopus door handle is, like, all-time iconic. I'm gonna retweet that, so find us on Twitter if you think that's funny, because I do.
So while we're at the online nonsense,
Jason, you need to share your online
Jason
nonsense.
found something funny about this movie.
Oh, I wanted to look something up because Lion's like, "Oh, I found your old second's head and had one eye." It's like, "Oh, wait, didn't the seagull have one eye too?" And so I found the Villains Wiki entry for the seagull from The Lighthouse. Full name, none. Alias, the seagull or the gull. Origin, The Lighthouse. Occupation, none. Powers/skills, flight, And dark magic, possibly.
I love flight.
Hobby, harassing Ephraim Winslow during his job. Goals, harass Winslow, succeeded. Curse Winslow as revenge for killing it, possibly. Crimes, assault, harassment, and malfic, possibly.
What a villain.
Assault and harassment.
What an absolute villain on the villains wiki.
That is one of the best things for someone to make a wiki
About
for.
the gull,
The seagull.
the seabird.
Yeah, so for Halloween this year, I really want to do like an A24 costume. And someone has to be the seagull.
All right.
I think that's a good costume. Jason is obviously one of these gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'm going to be someone in Hereditary. For sure.
You're gonna be what's her name with her head off? Just orange hoodie.
If I'll do that if you're the pole.
I do Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse, but the Mario-colored costume.
That's what it looked like, right?
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I was like, Robert Pattinson.
No,
playing
that was a
Mario.
fake colorized photo.
No, but it looked like in there. I saw him. And I was like, that looks like Mario.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
You got a favorite scene, or is
yeah,
it- all right, let's do
I was
some
gonna
favorite
say before we
scenes.
wrap up and do ratings, what scenes do we like?
Man, it's the Hark monologue.
Yeah.
I think about that so often.
It was so good.
It's gotta, yeah, that was gonna be mine. I'll say I really like that shot of Willem Dafoe's eyes being the lighthouse, looking at, they're standing naked,
Yeah, that
looking
was
at
an
Rob,
insane
who is
shot.
looking at dead Rob, aka maybe the
Who's
the
to
guy
say?
he killed. That shot is just really
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah.
For a small moment, I did really enjoy, though, I do have to say, Rob cleaning the poop.
Yeah, when he
And
throws the
it's-
poop.
Throws it,
It's a new
throws it
one.
right back in his
Don't
face.
throw the poop-filled chamber pots into the wind.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Like-
you know.
He just does it. He pauses for a second and then screams.
Yeah. And the next scene just has him speckled with
Maybe that's
Rob.
where he lost his mind. That was the moment.
I think that would do it for me, too.
Yep.
Honestly. All right, so ratings.
I don't
Jason,
wanna.
Man, this is like 9.5 out of 10 for me.
I knew you were going to go so high.
It's one of my favorite movies.
I feel really bad because I can't give it that high for me. Because I gave The Witch like an 8.5, and it's definitely not as good as The Witch. in
So
my
I
opinion.
definitely have like retrospectively been like, oh no, The Witch is my 9.5, if not higher. And that's not what I gave it in the episode, because I just in the episode was like, it didn't scare me that much. And just a horror podcast. But no, The Witch is a 9.5. And so that makes this an 8 for me.
Yeah, mine.
Maybe.
The thing is, I want people to watch this. Like, I'm like, it's different. I think Eggers is really cool. I don't think everyone will like it. I don't think it's for everyone. So I'm gonna give it for me a 7.5.
I was kind of between a 7.5 and an 8, but I feel like the craftsmanship in it is so good that I kind of
Yeah.
want to give it an 8.
I
So.
think the tough part that might turn people off is it's character driven and not like plot driven.
I don't have a problem with character driven.
But
I think
a lot
it was
of
just
A lot of
do.
people do.
A lot of people do,
Yeah.
but that's silly. Everything's character driven. Art is about things that happen, right? That's that's my quote.
Matt's gonna keep.
Art is about
you're gonna
characters
keep
that do
saying
things. No, the best stuff is character driven.
Yeah.
Character motivation drives the plot. You don't need plot. The plot could just be. I don't know. I'm rambling. All right.
We do think you should watch this,
Yeah,
but
I'd say
it
I
might
would
like
watch it.
leave you feeling like you scrambled your brain, like an egg.
Yeah, if you want to feel like just lost, that's what I would watch. Because the whole time I do just feel like I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know if I can trust anything I'm looking at, and that's like a cool.
I feel like
thing.
it kind of does do to my brain some of what some of Lynch does to my brain.
What Lynch does, I
Yeah.
agree. Yes.
Like
don't
I
feel
wouldn't
that?
call
Jason's
their
a huge Lynch fan.
filmmaking the same, but I think it has the same effect of my brain as to like, what did you mean by that, sir?
I feel like I'm looking
Why?
through. I feel like my glasses are fogged up, and I'm looking at the world, and I can't make out everything. That's how my brain feels. Gives me foggy brain. All right. We got anything else to say, Jason? You got anything else to say?
Anything to plug?
Watch
Any
this
books?
movie. It's great. A lot of good sea shanties.
A
Not a lot in the movie. They sing them in the movie, which is how you do it in real life. You get drunk and you sing sea shanties while dancing
Jason
around the
has
table.
done that a lot
was gonna say, I've
in
seen
our
it.
past. Jason loves a drunk sea shanty.
I love a good shanty.
I need to learn some more.
Yeah,
All right.
Jason's like the only person who's like Spotify wrapped top songs or sea shanties. And it's one of my favorite things about him. So, all right.
Wow. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love this movie.
We will
yeah.
make sure to have you back. I have a director I kind of want you back on for in the future. So
Plug it. Who do we want? get a cliffhanger.
I'll give a hint.
Okay.
He has 3 movies currently out, and it's a he. And they're at least 2 of them were released under A24.
Ari Aster.
No.
James Wan.
No.
Oh.
No, that's Blumhouse.
James Wan is a lot.
Atomic Monster. Yeah. Okay. So.
All right.
Watch
Sweet.
me have just spouted nonsense for
You
that.
might. Okay. He's right. All right. I'm at Hannah.
I'm Hannah.
I'm
He's
Thank you,
Jason.
Jason.
We're getting out of here. Have a good night, everyone. Or day, whatever.
Bye.
Breakfast. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you can find podcasts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!